императрицу повидали, мало на своем веку. Кавалеров вереницы навевают на нее теперь тоску. Только сердцу не прикажешь, сердце просит продолжение любви. И вечерний экипаж ее уносит на окраину Москвы. И там шальная императрица в объятиях юных кавалеров забывает обо всем, будто вечно ночь будет длиться, как будто разочарование не наступит новым днем. Гуляй, шальная императрица, и вся страна, которой правишь, ты берет тебя пример. Легко влюбиться, императрица, когда так страстно бирюзовым взглядом смотрит офицер.
The first time I saw him was in Obeziani, these Lidishinava, the old one, still at Trubnaya Square. We were changing in the billiard room, and suddenly a boy came in, very modest.
Without any show-off, without anything.
Well, we were all sitting around one billiard table, putting on makeup, changing clothes, and suddenly he came out. Everyone rushed, of course, to see what was going on, and suddenly he came out, and somehow immediately like that.
Quand Jimmy dit what I said, I love you baby, c'est comme qui dirait toute la province qui chante en anglais. Quand Jimmy dit what I said, oh baby come on, c'est comme qui dirait toute la province qui marche en western.
At first I was completely sure that he was a girl, and it didn't even occur to me. I didn't understand at all why she was on that stage, why she was in some silly dress. I also remember that she had some kind of club that was always falling apart and leaving a trail of detached feathers, some kind of old marabout. And then at the end of the act, the DJ told me that it was a guy. That was kind of my first surprise, because it was the first time I saw someone who could look so much like a girl.
I was born in Rostov-on-Don. 2 months after my birth, my parents moved to Crimea to raise me in a small village. I went to school, but I was expelled from the 10th grade because I was hysterical. I had to go to the capital of Crimea to study welding at a vocational school, where they also provided a dormitory. But when I realized that the welding profession wasn't for me, I simultaneously started dancing and working at a modeling agency. In truth, I wasn't a particularly striking model. I was a skinny and small boy. Nevertheless, I signed a contract to go to Milan for a year to work in a variety show. And before that, I came to Moscow for 2 weeks just to relax. But it so happened that I ended up staying here to live.
At that time I was still living in Tekstilshchiki in a one-room apartment with a friend, and he came to visit us, I remember, with a bottle of wine and a cake. Well, we talked about nothing in particular, and I went to sleep while Genka stayed to continue talking with Alla Badieva. First of all, she was surprised that the boy, despite not having means to live because his financial limit for staying in Moscow had run out, still managed to find some means to buy a bottle of wine and a cake when visiting. And that kind of won her over. They talked all night, drank that wine, and ate that cake, no? And in the morning, Badiev asked me, Manon, can he stay with us? I said, well, okay, but where will he sleep? But she said, well, let him sleep with me on the couch, and you will sleep on the folding chair. Well, that's what we decided. So he stayed with us in Tekstilshchika. Then there was a second apartment on Proletarka, already a 2-room one. Then there was a 3-room one on Kurskaya. And then he rented a separate 4-room one.
Gertrudой. Кто не мечтал стать такой же обворожительной, сногсшибательной, легкой, любвеобильной, общительной, неповторимой и всегда сексапильной? Конечно, каждый.
Старую пластинку поет охрипший патефон. Танцуем танго для разминки, а остальное все потом. Не надо говорить слова, прибереги их для других. И сводит музыка с ума, пьянящий танец для двоих. Танго, и рвется сердце из груди. Танго, ты шепчешь мне не уходи. Мы в этом танце до неприличия близки. Станцуем танго, все остальное пустяки.
Favorite season, autumn. Favorite color, black.
Favorite flowers, of course, are roses. Favorite place in Moscow, Tverskaya Street. Favorite animal? There are none. Favorite drink is fruit drink or cherry juice. And favorite alcoholic drink, probably beer. And favorite performer, actress, star is Madonna. And once again, Madonna.
Did on stage, he was unbeatable, and now some artists try to perform his acts, but it's not the same.
Well, there are people who perform acts and perform acts. Yes, a good act, so to speak, this one. But suddenly some act goes bam and everyone starts either imitating this act or working in that direction, or so to speak, look, we didn't think of that. Things like that, because Gelka was the first to start doing, if you notice, she was the first to do acts that were serious, even sometimes tragic.
This war, suddenly war, I wouldn't take on such an act.
Чи я втім вина, що
is the protest that sometimes slipped through in his acts. It accompanied him throughout his life. That is this kind of freedom, probably, yes, this sense of freedom that he could afford in any capacity, anywhere, in work, in life, in love, in friendship. That is, well, such freedom that few can afford, because we are still such, in most cases, we always think before doing or saying something. So by limiting ourselves, it's just in this freedom. But for him, everything was just like that, with a swing.
I needed a residence permit in Moscow, and she said she just needed a husband. That's how it all happened. Actually, we had a strange marriage. She is 100% lesbian, and I am 98% gay. But the wedding was a great success. Instead of quietly signing the papers, we threw such a party. Limousines, a lavish table, a restaurant, invited a bunch of guests. In short, everything was as it should be. Aladora pretended to be a witness, and Zina acted as an aunt who came to the wedding from America. So we had a great time.
He apparently understood that he was not like everyone else, but he wanted to be. I must be like everyone else. I must have facial hair. I must be a man. I must walk hunched over and spread my legs as if I have eggs the size of a bucket. And all the time, you see, I kept telling him, you see, you are different. And people don't notice this. Only you notice it and understand it. And those who spend a long time with you. And it seemed to him that it would be much easier and simpler to live if you were like the gray mass. There's the people who go down into the subway, ride the trains. He wanted to be like them so that no one would pay attention to him, so that he would go unnoticed. And because of this, he had constant conflicts with himself. He could, for example, having nothing in the fridge, say, sit hungry all day and only go out at night so no one would see him. And quickly run to a kiosk, buy something and return home. It seemed to him that everyone was looking at him. Again, that he was like a white crow in a flock.
In general, when everyone told me that this boy looks so much like a girl, it drove me crazy. It all started in childhood. When I first started working in a dress, people asked if I wanted to change my gender and have surgery. So, to be honest, I just wanted to kill those people. I feel like a man. I like my penis and I love using it. And the fact that I am like this now is just work. There is no other income for now. But when I find another job, then the trans girls, all the beginners, will fill their wardrobes with my dresses, and I will leave. I will go to work in the movies.
Any ideas?
Shall we dance?
Why not?
Are you serious? Are you a man or what?
Who do you want? Whatever you say, that's what I'll be.
Go to hell! I mean, screw you, damn it!
Initially, when we met and started talking, it immediately became clear to me that this is a person who walks on the edge of a razor blade, living on some incredible edge. It feels like he wants. I am completely sure that we all live a certain path. He lived everything that was given to him from above in this short time, and God just took him.
My most pleasant experience in life was when I danced the solo part for the first time. Our choreographer and director modernized the production of the play, based on the novel Jonathan Livingston Seagull. They turned it into a contemporary dance, not a classical ballet as it usually was in the original. I was that very seagull, and when a bunch of people in the hall applauded me, that's when I realized that I want to perform, and receive applause.
Признайся мені, звідки в тебе ті чари, себе всі дні, у полоні печалі, може десь у лісах, я червіння шукала, сонце руту знайшла, і тебе вчарувала. Червону руту не шукай вечорами, ти у мене єдиний, тільки ти повір. Бо твоя вода, то є чистая вода, то є бистрая вода, синій.
When we lived on Kurskaya, Al-Kabadeva brought a guy from under the Zemlyanoi Pushkin passage who read palms and cards. And when I don't remember what he predicted for me because Gelia and I were drinking a little. He told Genka for sure that he would get married. I remember we laughed so much then. I say, Gelia, can you imagine you will get married? There will be a woman in his life who will change his entire life and that he will die young. That's why he was already insanely afraid of flying. He quickly became afraid of driving cars. Maybe that's why he started to fear people, developed some kind of fear of enclosed spaces, like going down into the subway. I remember now we took it as a joke back then because I generally don't believe in all these fortune tellers, but now looking at his fate, I realized that the guy was right because there was a wedding. There was also a girl who fundamentally changed his life, and there was a young end which was not desirable. So if he were here now and nothing foreshadowed trouble, I would tell him to live to the fullest, forget about his prejudices, complexes, and most importantly, not to be afraid and, well, believed in himself above all, because maybe his only flaw was that sometimes he doubted himself, and that's very scary. When you don't believe in yourself, then you don't understand why and for whom to live.
Да, не моя вина, я совсем одна, ты мне очень нужен.
This is Gelia.
Whatever he may be,
as a drag artist.
I think there won't be any more.
What nature created in him is unique, unrepeatable, and but now that there were so few shoots, we should have photographed, filmed to let us show that there was such a unique phenomenon.
Жизнь как дым, как ее уносит прочь. Все как дым, так умчит и эту ночь. Мир любви, все, чем я жила тогда, как он расцвел, потом поблек, потом исчез, куда? как дым, жизнь как дым и нет огня. Помню все, что за память у меня. Помню все, что унеслось, как дым. Ну как мне жить такой, с моей ночной тоской, не видеть лживых снов, не слышать лживых слов. Видно, все напрасно. Жизнь как дым. Что же ты молчишь, Москва? Как мне жить, подскажи, мудрые найди слова. Как мне жить в мире от измен темно? Но видно, счастье не для всех, что делать, где оно?
Действительно, спасибо всем большое. Мне очень приятно, что вы дотерпели, просмотрели все это.